Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Lemon here. I'm here with Julia Seal. I can't wait for you to get to know her. She's one of our presenters at Lemon Rebellion coming up this September. Julia, welcome. It's great to see you.
Oh, Jamie, it's really fun to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do.
So, I'm really a coach that looks at whole being happiness. Typically, I'm coaching professional women in the sort of midlife or through change and through adversity, which is why I'm here at the Lemon Rebellion Summit. But yeah, I've been coaching since actually since 2009, coaching in corporate and so mainly, like I said, professional women leaders. And so, yeah, I mean, what happens when you're in as a leadership coach and a professional, you end up, you're not just coaching on leadership, are you? You coach on their whole lives and how is an executive showing up in their whole life. And that's what got me really interested in when you're showing up as an authentic leader, how do you come to the party, all of you, and show up all of you? And at the same time, I'm also a management consultant in a field called employee engagement, which is all about employee happiness. So it kind of blends the two things that I'm most passionate about, which is the studies of happiness and what does it really mean at a fundamental level. So, not just positive psychology, whitewashing, affirmations, but really what is that deep, authentic, soul driven happiness? And then with this whole thing of how do we lead our lives? How do we step up into what's possible and what is our best version? And the excitement that all of this happens is usually people come to coaching after something's happened. Some kind of adversity, some slap in the face that they've had in life. And some women, like I think it's like you, like me, we got these shocks around divorce. Some
Mm.
women, it's actually just midlife. I mean, that was like the second slap in the face. I was going through
Yeah.
menopause.
Yeah.
I thought I was sorted before then. So it is this wonderful exploration about, what is happiness really? From being on this treadmill of, I think this is what happiness is, and this is what I've been working for my whole life, and something stops us, illness, children, and we say, hey, I've got a chance as a reset.
hmm
So if you have this chance of the reset, and this is why I talk about this opportunity to evolve ourselves, because that's rather exciting about what we're being invited to step into by life. So something that is just bigger than everything we've ever been, taking everything that we are already, but just expanding it and living into the wholeness of it. So
Right.
that's really my passion around evolution and kind of how it started back in 2009.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Reflecting on midlife, I've been thinking about this lately because I just turned 40 at the end of the year last year, and I kind of haven't assimilated yet that I'm in midlife. It's like I'm not ready to quite accept it. But as I've become more open and start learning about this, it really does give us a unique opportunity to reflect on the patterns of that we've developed and created in terms of mindset and lifestyle, and you start to see the consequences of those kind of patterns of choices and thinking by this age. And like you said, it gives us an incredible opportunity to just step back, if we can see it as an opportunity, to step back and think, how do I want to move forward in this next half of my life? What kind of results do I want at the 40 more years down the road? What do I want to say I've been able to do or accomplish? And it's a great opportunity to just step back and rethink about it. And you're right, some things shake us up, and that gives us a chance, I think, to open our eyes and our hearts in a new way. Tell us, you've used this term whole being happiness. What does that mean for you? And in your research, what have you found that are these core components of happiness that
Yes, I mean, in a way, I mean, it kind of speaks to the word, doesn't it? Whole being. So our whole beings. But if you're looking at all the dimensions of us being here. So if you think about happiness as we typically think of happiness, it's really quite hedonistic. We've
yeah.
been taught to pursue happiness. What will make us happy? A career, kids, this amount of money, if we look nice, we do, we don't have wrinkles, whatever, that's kind of happiness. But it's come to us almost, so there's two parts of that. One is that we're wired. Our brains are wired and our bodies are wired to pursue happiness. But it's a kind of happiness that's maybe doesn't always give us what we want, because it is about being safe and being comfortable, because that's what our bodies and our brains are wired to do. It's about safety and comfort. And so that's actually, for most of our early part of our life, that's what we're doing. We're pursuing that. Because like you say, a lot of it is, it's not purposeful and intentional. It's just because we grow up and we just absorbed into our culture, and we think this is going to work, and we think this is going to work, and that's just what we do. So when we get this chance for a reset, this is the thing. It's like then we start to say, well, what is it for me? Not what I was taught, not my parents, not my parents, not my brothers, my friends, the media. It's what is it for me? And that's where we can really explode this thing of whole being. And one of the analogies that I love using is, if you think of, so my favorite flower is the sunflower. Okay, and you think of the little sunflower, and it follows the sun like this as the sun moves in the sky. And that's really what we're doing a lot of the time. If you think of the sun as happiness, we are just going where we think it is. But actually, if we stare at it all the time, we're not probably going to grow as well as a sunflower, but we can actually hurt ourselves in many ways if you stare directly at the sun. But what happens when the sun comes through a prism, or the sun comes through a raindrop, is it splits into the colors of the rainbow. And that's whole being happiness and all the paths to happiness. So you've got your emotional happiness. You've got happiness in relationships, which is one of your most powerful ways of creating happiness. You've got physical happiness and what that means for you, and spiritual happiness, and even, purposeful happiness. So there's all these pathways into happiness. So by the time we get to this reset moment, we will have been crafting our happiness in many ways. And we'll have a lot of those ingredients, but is it purposeful? Is it intentional? Have we actually decided this is what happiness is for me?
I love that.
And that's really exciting to do that work.
Yeah, it does sound exciting to define it on your own terms, really connected, I suppose, to your authenticity and who you want to be, not who necessarily has been produced by, like you said, by the conditions around us and the environment around us and all of that.
And the exciting thing is, and this is what gets exciting as a coach, is we tend to, for the most part of our lives, avoid what we're not good at, avoid things that, we're unskilled at, anything that we don't feel good about. We just avoid, all right? Because that is our wiring, to avoid pain. And so the kind of the challenge, the opportunity, the invitation, and this is what's great about adversity, because often we're blown so wide open that we actually are willing to take that courageous step. Because if you take that courageous step in to what is actually the most difficult, and it's only difficult because we don't have the skills. It's not like there's something fundamentally wrong with us. It's just we just didn't get the skills through our life. But if we step and we look at it like face front, and this is one of the areas I love to work, is both sides of the emotional spectrum. So how do we work with our negative emotions? How do we sit with pain and hurt and sadness and regret? How do we sit with it? And what does that mean to sit with it versus wallow in it? And what does it mean to process it? Like, how do we actually do that? But then we can get quite good at that and we get stuck there. So it's like, well, what about the other side? What about joy and gratitude and compassion? And how do we cultivate that on purpose? Because that's almost going past it's like overriding our wiring because our wiring is just interested in keeping us safe and keeping us away and avoiding pain. And so we've got this opportunity on the other side is to step into all the richness of the other side of emotions. But you can't have those if you don't sit with your negative emotions.
Right.
So that's the evolution, this enormous whole space that you can hold.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I often ask myself, because we talk a lot about this with Lemon Rebellion, turning adversity to advantage, or taking those hard things that happen to you and doing the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual alchemy to transform it into energy to move forward and transform and write your life on your own terms. And I have in the back of my head that there is this delicate balance, even with that message, the responsibility to it's to acknowledge that there is pain and loss and suffering that happens when adversity happens, and we're not trying to jump over that and avoid it. It's actually part of mastering this alchemy that happens to allow us to be able to transform. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that, because I think that's something that deserves a little bit more attention.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, I mean, I love the thinking of alchemy, because in a way, that is what happens in trauma, when we get a big shock, because we have the trauma response through our bodies. So we are cracked open in some way. So whether it is huge anxiety, huge fear, and so our body is in the stress response, and you can't rush through the stress response. You can, but then it comes back later. I'm thinking, like, recently we got written off in a car accident, and my husband, like, his trauma response is to just get very focused and cold and practical, but it comes back later, So the trick is, and we don't want to be there, is to stay and to settle our minds and our bodies in the trauma, to find a sense of peace there. So it's almost like working with our bodies and our brains and allowing that to work its way through. So, and only then can you step into the grief and the discomfort, and thereafter into the positive feelings. Because, positive psychology, I mean, listen, it's done wonders for the world, because, traditional psychology was looking after really damaged people after the 2 world wars. So we've now balanced the field of knowledge. But it kind of, in the media, we've gone this whitewashing route. And I think, to your point, that's not what the summit's about, and what Lemon Rebellion's about. Is we're not just coming with think positively and do these things. It's like, well, what do you do? Have the trauma response. What happens there? And then what happens after that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Well, this is really fun to talk about. I could geek out about this all day. Also, one of my favorite things to think about. I really love it. Well, I know you're also, among your qualifications, you're an ICF certified coach, certified integral coach, a certified relationship systems coach, and life coach, and integrative Enneagram coach. I love that about coaches. Once you guys get into something, you're like, I'm going to go further into this and accumulate all these wonderful, helpful, informative trainings to just help you serve people in the best and most complete way possible. What are you going to be doing with participants at Lemon Rebellion? What kind of session are you going to lead, and what can they expect from showing up and spending some time with you at the summit?
Yeah, so I think we'll talk about Wholebeing Happiness initially, and about the opportunity to evolve ourselves, so expanding on the conversation of today. But then I think in the actual coaching workshop, we'll work, how do you actually view a life challenge or an adversity as an opportunity? So that it's almost like a clarity around process. How do you see it as another step in your life's journey? So we'll do some work around there, and then we'll have a look at what does evolution mean to you, and how can you evolve yourself through your negative emotions, and then how do you evolve yourself through positive emotions. And then I think we put it all together and we start looking at this, I love the whole analogy of jigsaw puzzles, all right, post-COVID. And so my whole thing is about unpuzzling to repuzzle this beautiful artwork of your life. And so that's what we'll spend a little bit of time of what to put back in, based on what the research is telling us. Like, there are certain things that we know really help our happiness. So how to put those in. So I think that will be a workshop, and there'll be some coaching there as well, depending on how it all goes. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm sure many people listen to this and are like, oh, I want to know more. I want to experience that. And that's the cool thing about what we're doing together, Julie, is that we're creating experiences for people so they can get little tastes of what it's like to actually work on some of these topics with highly qualified, trained individuals like yourself to just get one step further in all these areas around post-traumatic growth, really, from appreciation for life, new possibilities, building resilience, developing closer relationships, and growing spiritually. So I think it's amazing, and I love that you're offering. I want to thank you for that, an extended session for people that have the all access pass, because to go through that first half an hour with you in the main session will be really amazing, but then also to have that opportunity to go in depth for an hour and a half, and actually do the work, begin the work with you is awesome. I know I'm going to make all of those extra sessions that I can, because I want to be there for all of them.
Yeah, because it's fun. This is what the amazing, wonderful thing about coaching is. Like, it's just about getting unstuck.
Yeah.
And then all your wisdom comes back, and all your knowledge comes back, and all your beauty comes back. And you just need that one thing to unstick you. Yes. It's very fascinating, because we think that everything's gone wrong.
We're so hard on ourselves. We think one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong, and I've done everything wrong. Yeah, and it's true. I love that about the coaching model. And again, this is part of why with Lemon Rebellion, we're working primarily with life coaches, executive coaches, is because of the model and the way you work. It's guiding people back to their inner wisdom, guiding people back to their best selves, and not giving them answers and methods and tools and putting yourself in the place of an expert, but really leading and facilitating a process to bring people back to that inner knowing, inner wisdom, which I think is incredible.
It's so exciting, so beautiful. So beautiful to witness as well. That's the joy of sitting on this side of the screen.
Yeah, do it and leading the work. Well, thank you for what you do. Well, for everyone who's listened today, again, we're talking with Julia Seal. She's going to be presenting at Lemon Rebellion, which is happening from September 19th to the 25th. It's an online summit made for women facing change and adversity, helping guide you towards thriving and really creating a life on your terms, and showing you the tools and people that can support you to get there. So thank you again, Julia, for your time. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you at Lemon Rebellion.